All right, welcome to the June edition of the Key Ministry Disability Ministry Video Roundtable. My name is Beth Golick from Key Ministry. Catherine Boyle is our Director of Mental Health Ministry. She's here as well with a red background. And today's topic is on staffing models for special needs and disability ministry. So the reason we're having this discussion, there is a Facebook group for disability ministry leaders, and there was a discussion topic back in, I want to say February, kind of early March, and people were just asking, like, what does your staff look like at your church? Are you full-time, part-time? Are you part of children's ministry? What does it look like? And so we said, great, let's do a roundtable on this. And then the pandemic hit. And so suddenly we all shifted our focus to talk about how in the world are we going to do ministry when we can't be with our people, right? But as churches are starting to reopen, and as we're all, have started to figure out how to do ministry in a new way, we thought it would be a good time to revisit this topic. So I think everybody's muted right now, but go ahead and unmute yourself. And if you would just share what area of the country you're from, because that's always interesting, but a little bit about the size of your church and where disability ministry falls, like what your role is, where you fall in the church, what your staffing looks like, or ask a question about if you're looking to restructure, that type of thing. So this is truly going to be a discussion today, so we can identify all kinds of different ministry models. So would anybody like to go first?
I can, Beth.
Thank you, Amanda.
I think I'm the one that posted, I think, about that in February because, so I'm from Columbus, Ohio, Central Ohio, and I'm part of a large multi-site church there. Our main camp, my daughter is baking cookies and she's going to be asking me questions, so I'm sorry if I get interrupted.
Keeping it real, keeping it real.
11 minutes they bake. Sorry. So we have one, like, would be our first campus, our main campus, usually averages about like 6,000 people a weekend. And then we have an online campus, and then we have a Spanish speaking congregation that meets in, it's like a campus, but it meets in our same building. And then we have three other other campuses. And right now, I am the only staff person in, I'm the special needs ministry coordinator, but I'm part-time. I'm 15 hours a week. And technically I'm supposed to be over all of those things, which that doesn't work. So, my responsibilities, I'm basically we don't really have, our main campus has been we have like a sensory break room. We have a really well-established special needs ministry there. But we're, launching that at the campuses because obviously we have kids and adults with disabilities on all of our campuses. So that's kind of, I just wanted to know, when I asked that question, I wanted to go and talk to my employer and be like, this is just not, like, this is what you want, and this is not what I can do under 15 hours. So the good news is I wrote a proposal, and I'm actually going to be reviewed this next week for me to at least go to 25 hours, which isn't perfect, but it's better. It's better. So, I just wanted to know what that looked when you have like this big church, a multi-site church. Is there somebody at each campus? How does this work for other people? But yeah, that's what I'm doing. Wow. Hope that answers those questions.
Well, Amanda, you're getting a lot of love in the chat. So everybody's saying hire her full time. So so that's
thanks, guys. I would love to. The lady who ran the ministry before I did, she was a pioneer, and she started it 25 years ago. And, she did it as a volunteer for many years and then was contracted for 10 hours a week. So for them to hire me on staff for 15 hours felt like success, but we need it's exploding. So,
Well, can we hear from anybody who is in a church similar to the size of Amanda's, perhaps a multi-site church? Would anybody like to share what their looks like? Doc, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm actually not on staff anymore at my church. I've now stepped out to take SOAR. It's its own nonprofit, but I can share what Grace Church does and how got that all set up. Sorry, forgot to mute my phone. But our church has 3 campuses plus an online campus, so 4 campuses there. Then each overall, we've got one. They've got one full-time position to oversee the entire special needs ministry. We had 2 when I was there as well, but since I left, it's just 1. At each campus, there is a volunteer director for the campuses to run those. They don't have a volunteer director or anyone yet running the online one, but that's something they're starting to look at. And so as I work with churches throughout the country, that's something I'm starting to recommend, is trying to do things now that we really try to get an online presence and try to have a online director to kind of help run that. And I think that very much can be a volunteer for that. But they've got one full-time position, and that full-time position oversees all the campuses. We also have what's called campus support. So the campus support then also kind of determines the DNA, the culture, and everything for that, and make sure that's going to be the same throughout everything. So that person also kind of does that role. What I'd say, kind of speaking to Amanda, just the bottom line of trying to oversee the scheduling, and planning, that alone is more than 15 hours for one campus, let alone 4 or 5 campuses that you have. So that's what I'd recommend there, is really sitting down and plotting out exactly what you're doing and showing that. But for our church, we've got the 3 campuses. Our larger campus, we've got maybe 2,000 members, attendees each week. We've got one campus that meets in a school. I want to say probably about 500 there. And then we've got another campus that has its own building, and that campus has probably another 800 plus people or so there. All 3 campuses together on an average weekend, we will, for individuals with disabilities, they'll have about 100 to 120 individuals with disabilities spread out between the 3 campuses that are in attendance. They've got many more that overall, but that's usually what they've got there for that. So one paid person with volunteer director at the other campuses, and I don't think they've got any plans at adding on paid positions, even though they're talking about that right now. They're putting in proposals, and then they've got intern, special needs ministry intern for the summer to help out as well. So
thank you. So I want to just echo something that Doc said, and this is something that we've been talking about on our weekly idea shares. I know some of you, many of you, have been participating in our Monday morning discussions, Monday afternoon discussions, kind of like this. Well, morning for the California people. But that is, now that we've really been doing this online ministry now, or ministry in this new way. How can we continue to provide that type of experience for families who either hadn't been able to come into our church buildings, or for at least a long time are not going to be able to come into our church buildings? And so that's something that's certainly probably a new idea for a lot of us, but perhaps thinking about hiring some kind of online coordinator so that type of experience, connection, what have you, can continue with families. All right, so just a show of hands, and I know we've got a couple screens worth of people here, but how many of you who are like the special needs or disability ministry person at your church, how many of you fall under children's ministry? So, and I'm one of them. And I know we've got a couple, yeah. So it looks like a lot of us fall under children's ministry, but not all. So let's see, who else would like to either share what their, okay, family ministry. Yep, Amanda serves adults and teens too. Yeah, so does our church. And I know a few of you are primarily serving adults or with a parachurch organization that serves adults. All right, who else would like to either share or has a question? Belinda, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Belinda Thompson, and I live in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
And we have one church. It's about, I guess, 1,500, 2,000 membership. For 5 years, I was over the early childhood and special needs ministry. And I decided to retire part-time. So I'm just going to be over the special needs ministry working 20 hours a week.
Okay.
Right now, that's not working out because we're doing so much online. We're doing lessons online for the kids and doing a summer online projects with the kids. So we're pretty busy, and we have 2 services. The older service, the 9:30 service is for our younger kids, and 11 o'clock is for our older kids. And we're working on up until we had it just about ready until we went, this crisis happened. We're going to have a room for our older youth kids. So we're working on that. Once we get back in, we can finish that out and help that. We also have a Spanish service, I guess, and we have, for my teachers, I have adults and also have youth. We use youth as the buddies for each child that we have. We try to make sure each child has a buddy to do all the activities with on Sunday mornings. And we do a special parents' night out every other month. Right now we can't, which is kind of sad. And I also do a small group for all parents with special needs kids. And we do that every Monday night.
Great.
So that's
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And you're getting shout outs in the chat for your awesome accent. So.
Oh,
welcome.
I'm from the South. I'm from Mississippi. So it's not a Texas one I hear.
Yeah, well, we've got lots of people from Texas or from Houston on today, I believe. So raise your hand if you're from Houston. I know there's at least a couple of you. Yeah. Well, welcome. All right. Who else is ready to share? I'm hoping
Okay.
Bronwyn will share because I love her model. Yeah, she's saying in the chat we could possibly have a roundtable discussion on things that we were planning to do in our ministries but didn't because of the coronavirus. That's for sure. That's for sure.
I feel like that's qualified. I mean, I could talk about. I think I talked about Monday about our internship at our church. I guess it's not beneficial. I said, hey, I think we need an intern because I don't have enough hours to serve all these families. So what we did was we have a student from the local college who also attends our church, and she had been involved with the ministry. So she received units through the college for interning. She did mostly respite planning, and then she was doing Sunday support, and then again, coronavirus, things we were going to do but didn't. And we shifted that all to a lot of at-home respite in terms of like giving families resources because we couldn't go in their homes. So she did quite a bit of that. We did a lot of connecting other families or connecting with families and volunteers. So that ended up being great because we don't have extra money to pay another staff person, but we certainly need more than the hours that I have to serve the number of children and families we have. Also, in part of that, that freed me up to recruit more youth volunteers and youth volunteers that were really invested. So, we kind of got the volunteer force going. I think someone had mentioned that already. But the internship, it went really well, and I hope to continue it. It was very beneficial for everyone involved. So if you're able to do that, you have connections to a college in your area or some entity that is able to give people some kind of a unit compensation or something for internships, so your church doesn't have to pay. It was really helpful.
Thank you. We have some I've got background noise here, so I keep muting myself. We've got some comments in the chat, but Sylvia, you had your hand up. Would you like to share?
Yes, I was just going to say, you all know, those of who have been on, I'm in Maryland. I am the director of our special needs ministry. And no, I don't get paid. I work as many hours as it takes me to accomplish whatever task needs to be accomplished. We are a huge church. We have about 1,500 in attendance at 3 Sunday services and about 200, 250 at an evening Sunday service total. On Sunday, we offer Sunday school classes at 2 of our Sunday services, at our 10 o'clock and our noon service. And we have about 10 or 15 families that are in self-contained environment. And then we offer inclusive environments where we will send a buddy with a child that wants to be with their typical peers. We also have a social skills group for our young adolescents, 1 Sunday a month, and they're primarily boys that come to that social skills group. We also do once a month. Now we are not able to do that as well. We participate in Buddy Break, which allows respite for 3 hours, 1 Saturday a month. Right now, the way we're doing that is through virtual activities and emails, letters to them, and we are in the process of fixing summer play packs where we're going to be driving them to their houses and doing a drive-by with balloons and all that kind of stuff for excitement and everything. We support also individuals that use our Metro Access service on Sundays to support them and make sure that they get their Metro Access transportation when they're dropped off, because that's a critical piece. If they don't meet their ride at the time, the window that is allotted to them, they are left at church. So sometimes we are at church on Sunday evening until 10 p.m. trying to get them picked up. We also have a parent support group where once a month we meet with parents to do training and teaching and all kinds of activities with them. Right now we're doing that through Zoom. We have a baby group for parents of 0 to 3-year-olds where we support them through their IFSP transition to the IEP transition. I do parent advocacy for them if they need to go to IEP meetings, because I'm an occupational therapist by profession, and have worked in the school system, so I'm allowed to do that. That's just a few of the things that we do.
Wow, Sylvia.
Right now, everything is trying to be coordinated through online Zoom calls. Pick up the phone and call everybody, go through the list, and one day just call 10 or 12 people to make sure. We have buddies and volunteers and everybody that kind of support, but everybody's a volunteer. Nobody is paid.
Okay, so my mind is blown, first of all. Sylvia, I want you to make sure that you read the chat, because you are getting so much love in the chat right now, and I'm pretty sure there's a campaign already started for you to be president. So take a look at that. We applaud you. That's just amazing. I wrote down, like, I want to hear more about the social skills class, and that was mentioned in the chat too. So let's not talk about it right this second, but if we don't have time today, this might be a topic for a future roundtable, because I'm super curious, and I know some others of you are too. Wow, yeah, but do go back. Catherine, yes, please.
Let me just throw something out there. So I have a young adult son on the autism spectrum, and there's all kinds of books. I'm going to put a few of them in the chat. very adaptable for social skills kind of classes, but definitely want to know what you are using, Sylvia, as well. And I just want to throw out that lots of people are unemployed now, and there may be a lot of people out there who are already in your churches who aren't working right now who would love to be participating in, as a volunteer in ministry. And I say this because that was me 20 years ago when I became a stay-at-home mom by choice. I worked in banking for 13 years, and so very weird ministry path. But you guys know there is no shortage of opportunities for volunteers who are people who are good organizers and self-starters and that kind of thing, and there's probably a lot of them available right now. So just throwing that out.
Okay, we have Michelle and Tammy have some things in the chat, and Kath, I have to go cough, not COVID, but can you take over that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Lots of Sylvia for president comments. Let's see. Looking for blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so yeah, the curriculum. Yeah, Sylvia, do you have the name of the curriculum that you could share on the social skills?
I'm back. Yeah, let's hold off on the social skills because I want
that to be a whole discussion.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm back.
The only comment that I didn't see we had like a
can
direct answer to.
So Michelle shared and Michelle's in Illinois, shared that she has a campus and an online community, about 7,000-ish. So again, a pretty big church. Okay. With one full-time person, which is herself. And there's Michelle, her camera just came on. It took 3 years of requesting in our planning reports. Last year, we added student staff for 20 hours. So Amanda talked to Michelle.
We have. We have.
Excellent.
We have spoken on the phone. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
So, and I'll just jump on with the fact of one of the other things that I didn't put in there was the fact that we try to do a lot of volunteers in the roles, kind of the theme that we heard from Sylvia. I think that's really critical and important, and when we look at our Jesus heart, we're all thinking we want to serve and love and participate in kingdom good. But when I put on my business hat, there's this perspective of, being good stewards of how am I going to say this? How we really do treat others that are constantly working for the kingdom. The fact that sometimes, if that is in your heart that you are struggling financial, I think that's a different conversation than, I want to do this as a volunteer. So, when Amanda and I were talking, she's giving a lot of time away from her family to, have to do things. So I think the church leadership needs to be aware of the perspective of like, if you hire for other positions, then this needs to be on the table as well and get just as much discussion around hiring in those positions. I'll leave it kind of at that. And I don't think I said it very well, but I hope you understand my heart there. And then the other thing I would talk about is our church, probably 2 or 3 years ago, we started this program where we call them ministry partners. And it's just a very high level volunteer position. We invite them into our staff meetings. They have staff email. It's kind of just, we've elevated some of these people that we have identified as just key people in our ministry areas. And like right now I have 2 ministry partners, and they are a life-saving to me on certain weeks, because they're right there. They honestly, if anything ever happened to me or I had to be away for a couple of Sundays, these are the people that I can say, hey, I need you to run with it on Sunday, because they know all the dynamics of the actual programming side of it. And then they know relationally, they know all of our families. So they have both these skill sets of like the programming piece, but the relational piece. And it's just a nice marriage for me to have a couple of those people, in my back pocket.
That's great. And that's so important, because we should always be training people to replace us. I mean, that's part of That's part of ministry. So thank you for bringing that up, Michelle. I do want to do another thing from the chat. Tammy has 4,500 at her main campus, and they're launching a second campus this fall, and staff consist of herself and 2 part-time staff serving approximately 100 families. Now, we have a couple people on here that do a tremendous job with student volunteers. And so if you can speak into that, go ahead and unmute yourself and talk a little bit about recruiting, training student volunteers. Doc, go ahead.
I can go ahead. I can jump in. So we do a couple different things with students. First off, I truly believe students are the lifeblood of your volunteers and any ministry. They're great to work. We do a couple different things. One is just to try and empower them. But the other thing that we've really done is several years ago, I created what we called a student apprenticeship, where we would we took up to 10 students, anywhere from middle school through high school, and we tried to have at least 1 to 2 from each year. And then we would pour leadership skills and training into them. They were already individuals who had served in our ministry and expressed interest in special needs. And then we would meet with them on a monthly basis, and then we would pour leadership into them and challenge them and stretch them. And so over time, they then would end up taking on more and more responsibility. They would be our coordinators on the weekend. So every service, we would have a coordinator that kind of oversees that service, oversees all the buddies, make sure everyone's doing fine. And those are led by student apprentices. And so we empower them. They rotate, so they're in a different section. So they learn every aspect of the ministry, whether it be respite or camp or whatever it might be. But what we found is that really did an amazing job. And then on top of that, part of their job was also to recruit other students. The best way to recruit students is to get students to recruit their friends. And once you can get into one social group, you'll get that entire social group. That's just the way teens work. And so, that was another way that we were able to do that. So by having them there doing that was wonderful. At the same time, we've had several of them now who have graduated. And after they've graduated, one of my students had graduated. He now is actually our volunteer director at one of our other campuses, the campus that meets in the school, because he had done everything. He knew how to do everything. And I'd go back to exactly the point Beth just said a few minutes ago. Part of our job as ministry directors, we have to constantly be raising people up to replace ourselves. And it's not that we're going to try to remove ourselves from our job. It's so that we can get other people there to do it, so we can do other things that only we can do. But that's one of the things we were constantly doing. We were especially, at our church, we're looking at doing multiple more church plants over the next several years. So every time there's a church plant, we're going to need a new director. We don't have the money to be hiring to do all that. So that's all part of it. But a big part has been with our volunteers and getting in. We'll also go to student ministries, where we'll get up in front, we'll make announcements, we'll let them know what's going on. We invite them to be a part of everything. And they love being part of our ministry. So anytime you can get them to be involved and share, that's awesome. If you can, get them to start sharing it on their social media, you'll get all their friends. And so those are great ways to get it. But if you can get a couple who are really influential, really love it, and start pouring leadership into them, we met just on a monthly basis. It just made a huge change in them and really helped grow our ministry.
That's great. Yeah.
I mean, I would say.
Yeah, go ahead, Bronwyn.
I was going to say, don't underestimate the impact that a teenager can have in the ministry. I would say, if I think about the children in our ministries who have the highest levels of support, they are all supported by teenagers ages like 13 to 16, probably. I mean, I was like, wow, like those guys have a way of understanding and connecting with kids that sometimes adults just like don't access as quickly right away. And like Doc said, we had one student kind of start, and then his friends all came and started supporting. And I think if, the world tells teenagers that, there's no place for them. And I think if your church, and if you say, hey, here's a place for you, and you are tasked with building a relationship with this one child, it is really empowering. And they will show up Sunday after Sunday, and they will take like the craziest, the hardest thing and just say, oh, let's read a book. Oh, I think we need to go outside. Oh, it seems like we need a snack. I'm like, oh, so I've been completely astonished kind of at the level of the quality of support that such young teenagers are able to provide. So I would say seek out those folks. It has been awesome.
I love that. All right. So let me go back in the chat here for a second. So just a point of clarification, Ingrid is asking, when you all are referring to the number of families that you serve, is that the number of church attenders or people that come to to events such as Respite? Would anybody like to chime in? So for those of you who are saying like you're serving 100 families, what does that mean?
For me, it's a combination of both of those. Many of the families that are supported in our respite program are also come to Sunday school and church services, although not all of them. And sometimes that's the way that we have gotten a lot of our special needs ministry members as a result of the Buddy Break. They were not members prior to coming to Buddy Break and seeking that support, but they are now members.
Okay. And I know, like personally at my church, the number of students that are part of, the special needs ministry on Sunday mornings is one number, and it's about like 15-ish or give or take. And then the number of guests that we serve at a respite event is like huge. So, like 80 to 100 at any given event. So, so for me, it's kind of a big difference.
Yeah, for us, we're 100 to 120 individuals every weekend. That's birth through adults. But like our respites, we serve over 900 individuals with disabilities. So when I say 100, 120, that's just on the weekend who actually are attending with that.
Right.
Yeah, and for us, we've identified about 155 families for Sunday. Now, they don't all come at the same time, but to give you an example, like I typically, when we were still back in the building, would have like 45 kids with a one-on-one buddy in the building, and then we had a few kids, probably another 12 in our special needs area, and then our adult class usually is like 15 to 20. So it just kind of varies in numbers. But when we say I have 155 families, that's relating to who attend on a church on a pretty regular basis.
Great, thank you. So Michelle also mentioned that she would love for her senior pastor, who is part of a mega church roundtable, for their roundtable to discuss this issue. So I think it's a great idea. All right, who else can share about what they have going on at their church or have a question that maybe we could help you brainstorm? Yeah, Belinda.
When you talk about respite on the weekends, what does that involve? Doc.
Yeah, so for us, our respite nights are usually on a Friday night. Ours are massive. They're on steroids. Our typical, it's for 3 hours on a Friday night, where we have about 150 to 160 individuals with disabilities, all severities. I've got a full medical team, full behavior team. Every individual has their own buddy. We also offer a sibling program because siblings don't have a normal life.
Right.
So we'll have about 90 siblings, and then we have 400 to 500 volunteers to run that night. I feed everybody, all volunteers, all participants. My pizza bill is about $2,600 just to feed everybody. It's hysterical watching the pizza delivery boy show up with 300 plus pizzas trying to come out of the car. It's like clowns, but it's pizzas instead. And then we have a theme for each night. So whether it be superheroes or Star Wars or Olympics, we've got a different Christmas. We got a different theme. It's one of the few nights where the individual with disability is actually in control. We tell the buddies that they get to do whatever they want that night. If they want to spend all night in one room, you're going to spend that whole night in that room. But they never get to be in charge of anything. So it gives them a chance to do that. We start the whole night off by cheering everybody on, either sensory cheers or big loud cheers. We do that for each and every individual. Then we have everyone can eat, and we do worship, and then we do a Bible study, a little devotional for everybody, and then they're free to go. We have a game room. We have dry sensory, wet sensory, teen rooms, a minute to win it game room type thing going on. We've got 2 different movie rooms, one for elementary younger kids and one for our teens and adults. We've got our sensory rooms with all of our other games and bubble tubes and that in it. We've got 2 different craft rooms so they can find what they want to do there. And then multiple other game rooms, some video games and things like that. So there's plenty of activities, plus we'll open the gym up, have basketball, have volleyball, have a parachute open. And then sometimes we'll bring in special things, but that's a kind of the typical thing for us. As a result, because ours is so big, we end up doing that every other month. But we're now looking to see where we can take our respite to other churches and to other places to train them how to do it.
That's great.
So that's an example of like an incredible respite program. This can be done on a much smaller level. And actually, if you go to keyministry.org, we do have some resources for you, including some links to a couple of organizations that we really recommend, to give you some guidance on providing respite. Because I think we all know that respite is one of the biggest requests that families have. And
we do
really hard right now since we can't do it in person.
I can't do it. We do this parents' night out, but it's every other month. But we just have a few rooms, so we have to divide everything up. We have an art class, music class, story time, gym time, but it's just in small rooms. I would love to have just.
Wouldn't we all love to have that facility?
We have invite the siblings too, so the parents can go on a date.
Right.
And it's about 4 hours, so that's fantastic. I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah. So Catherine shared a link to a couple of resources that are on our website. All right. What else? What else is on your mind regarding staffing? How many of you are volunteers? Like that your role is an unpaid role with your church? So a few hands there. Okay. My internet is unstable, it says. So, all right. Did we cover everything in chat? Catherine did share a link to an some autism social skills resources. I would like to tackle that topic another time for sure, though, because I think a lot of us have an interest in that. So let's maybe make that a future roundtable discussion. All right. While you're thinking of anything else you want to say, Catherine, can we do a little commercial break and tell people what Key Ministry has going on in the next week or two? Are you prepared for that? Sorry, I like to do this without warning. I like to just pop it on her. See if she's paying attention.
No, it's okay. It's totally okay. So if you haven't been joining us for our Monday idea shares, where we have a similar kind of discussion with ministry leaders, whoever's able to join, we'll be continuing that weekly. And then in July, we're going to be switching to every other week. And we started these in response to all the coronavirus related changes, and it's been helpful for us certainly, and I think it's been helpful for a lot of folks who have attended those, just to share some ideas and kind of see what some of the problems are that you're wrestling with. So please go to the keyministry.org/events page to sign up for those particular events. Next week, we're going to continue our one of our bi-weekly discussions on mental health related topics. And so we're going to actually talk with Pamela and Cindy, who are the founders of a ministry called Chronic Joy. They are a resource ministry. They help provide accessible faith-based educational resources that inspire families or individuals who either live with chronic physical pain or illness or ongoing chronic mental illness. So encourage you to sign up for that. Again, go to the keyministry.org events page to find that link. And then, gosh, it's only a couple weeks till July. That's hard to believe, but on Wednesday, July 1st, we're going to have a conversation with Lisa Jameson from Walk Right In Ministries on becoming a growing prayer warrior as a special needs parent. So Lisa's full of great ideas, and she'll have a lot of practical supports and ideas about how people who want to be really active as prayer warriors for special needs families or as a special needs parent can create those kind of resources for their church and then share them with others. So again, go to our events page and sign up. We really appreciate all your participation over, particularly over these last few months as we've increased our frequency with discussions and webinars.
Yeah, so, and Andrea actually put something in the chat kind of along those lines, but she's saying that she has, these discussions have helped her. She's preparing some new talks for conferences and for some lecturing that she's doing at seminaries and Bible colleges. So kind of like, what are your churches doing in the area of disability? So I'm glad this has been a good resource for you. And okay, Michelle is asking, has anyone regathered at church? And that has definitely been what we've been talking about on the idea share. So let's see a thumbs up if your church has met in person yet. So I see at least 3, 4, 5. My church will be meeting outdoors starting June 28th. And this is when it's so, and there's a thumbs up down there in the corner there. This is when it's like different areas of the country. It's just been so interesting to watch how that's unfolding. So yeah, so Michelle, that hopefully kind of answers your question. And again, these idea shares, we're going through like really specific, like we're drilling the people that are already reopening, because we want to know like, what are the best practices? How in the world are you doing this? Are your families coming back yet? So I encourage you to, join us on these Monday morning conversations. Yeah, and for a lot of you, you're not going back anytime soon, for sure. Oh yes, and yes, Andrea's in a hot spot. Yes. All right. Are we good? Anything else anybody wants to share? Any questions that you have regarding staffing? No? Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate the great discussion today. Thank you. I always learn so much, and I'm always thrilled to be able to go back to my staff, because I do work at a church as well as working for Key Ministry, and share what I've learned. So thanks for making me look smart. All right. Thank you again. Check out keyministry.org/events, and we'll see you on the next roundtable. Thanks, everybody.